Hey, everybody. Welcome to the DFS Army Killshot podcast. I'm Dan from Half the Battle, joined now by multiple-time DraftKings qualifier, Big Marley 3. Today, we're going to talk about Darren Till versus Derek Brunson. It's going down this Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada. Very excited to be back. We're going to break down all the fights, start to finish. So everybody that's been asking where I've been, I did get the Rona. Brutal 2 weeks, but we're back at it. So if I get a little winded, or if I can't talk with the same enthusiasm I normally do, that's the reason why. But trying to soldier through. Even though I made a full recovery, I'm not sick anymore. Still some lingering things, and one of those things is getting winded after talking for extended periods of time. So we're gonna try to get through this. My co-host Kyle Marley, how's it going, my man?
Hey, not too bad. We got a 10 fight card, which I'm not too big with on DraftKings, but Geek loves. So hopefully he'll be playing even though he's not here. It's football season, so he has to focus all of his attention over there. If he's not researching, then he's answering questions in Slack. Guys in there all the time answering questions. So if you're not a member yet, sign up. Promo code Sleeveless saves you 10% every month, all sports included. We got coaches for everything. They're all good at responding in the Slack chat. So it's a best time of the year to start signing up. But yeah, I'm excited to break down this card. It's not the best card on paper, but as long as we make some money, I'm going to like it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So let's get down to business, man. Because first up, we got Jonathan Martinez taking on Marcelo Rojo. Odds have it -155 Martinez, +140 Rojo. So like right off the bat, the line stood out to me, and I'm curious if I'm off in thinking that maybe Jonathan Martinez should be a bigger favorite, or if maybe there's something to it, because I do think that he's been in there with a better level of competition. But at the same time, I also see this being one of those Latin brawls where both guys have a lot of spirit, and it could be back and forth. I mean, Marcelo Rojo, his UFC debut didn't go his way, but the guy's a dog. He fought with a lot of heart. And he's coming to fight, win or lose. So he's going to push Martinez for sure. I just personally thought Martinez should have been a little bit of a bigger favorite. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. As far as DraftKings is concerned, they got an 8,600 for Martinez, 7,600 for Rojo. I mean, I think it's going to be a violent fight. And I know that Martinez hasn't scored the best unless he's out here, landing those knee knockouts on people. But I could see him getting a body shot knockout or something like that here. I'm going to roll with Martinez. And I'm going to definitely keep my eye on this because I'm curious if my assumption about the line being a little short is true or not, Kyle.
Yeah, I think this one's a tough one because I do think Martinez is the more technical, the better fighter of the two. But I like the aggression, and I think Rojo's a dangerous fighter everywhere. So I think DraftKings-wise, I would rather just side with the underdog here because I think he has the higher ceiling. If Rojo wins or Rojo wins, I think it's going to be a submission or just a heavy knockout. We got Martinez coming off a knockout to Davy Grant, which I did not see coming at all. And I've never really been sold on Martinez, but same thing with Rojo here. He's not anything great either. I just like the aggression, and I think if he wins, he's going to score well, and he'll score more than 10x. That's really what I like the most. Whereas if Martinez wins, I think it would be a decision where I'm not sure that he's going to score 10x his $8,600 price tag. I could definitely see him winning, but if he wins, I would rather just be underweight on him and hope that other favorites score more. So I'd rather target the Rojo side, and I'm going to take him inside the distance.
So next up in the middleweight division, we got Marc-Andre Barriault. He's -165. He's taking on Dalcha champion Lungiambula, who's +138 or +145, depending where you look. DraftKings wise, they got it Barriault 8,400 and Lungiambula 7,800. So I bet on Lungiambula in both of his UFC wins against Marcus Perez and against Daquan Townsend. He definitely came through in both those spots. But this is a little bit of a different matchup, in my opinion. Barriault did have that shaky UFC start, went 0-3 off the rip, but I think he fought with a lot of heart in those fights, and that's why they gave him another opportunity to prove himself. Goes out there against Pihota. I believe he was a dog. I know I bet him that. I don't remember what the odds were, but that was nice. And then the next fight against Azaitar, he really surprised me, man. I thought he looked very, very good in that fight, especially good in comparison to his past form, man. I think that he's, moving in the right direction. But speaking of moving in the right direction, I mean, Lungiambula moved from South Africa to the United States. So that's huge, man, because that South African scene ain't exactly the best. But now he's at Extreme Couture under the guidance of Eric Nixick, and he's training with Francis Ngannou. So you can expect, leaps of improvement in Lungiambula's game. And I also have a saying, not to bet against Africans, man. I mean, you see Razak last week, man. I mean, right when you count out a guy like Razak, you see him go out there, starch Di Chirico in the first 20 seconds. I could see, here's my issue. I think Barriault's going to win the fight, man. I think he's the bigger, stronger guy, and I think that he's got the cleaner hands. It's just that, sometimes these guys like Lungiambula, it doesn't matter if the technique ain't the prettiest. He can force his ways to making things happen in fights, and that's what I'd be most worried about. But my pick will be Barriault here.
Yeah, I agree. I think early it'll look like Dalcha's going to be the favorite, so maybe it's a good live betting fight after round one, because I think Dalcha could win round one, even with takedowns or just some big shots on the feet, while Barriault's just a little weary of that power. But I think he starts slowing down after round one, and I think that's when Barriault starts picking it up. And I just think he's the better, more technical fighter of the two, and as long as he can slow down Dalcha after that first round, especially if he's going for takedowns. If he's landing takedowns in that first round, I would expect him to tire out as the fight goes along, and I just don't think he'll be able to keep up with the volume on the feet. So I do like Barriault to win a decision here, but if he's going to win a decision, I don't really think he's scoring that many DraftKings points. So I think he'll need the knockout, which he is live for. I can't fade him because of that knockout power on his side as well. But Dalcha is a guy who could just break the slate. If he wins in the first 60 seconds of this fight, then he's winning somebody $100,000. So even though I'm picking Barriault, I think Dalcha is going to be my preferred play of the two on DraftKings. If I was making just one lineup, I'd rather throw him on it and just hope that he can land something big early.
So next up, featherweight division, we got Charles Air Jourdain. He's minus 185. He's taking on Julian Erosa, who's plus 155. DraftKings, they got it. Jourdain 8,900, Erosa 7,300. So Jourdain's a kid who came into the UFC, and right off the bat, I mean, they're putting him in there with Desmond Green. They're putting him in there with Andre Fili, with Duho Choi. So he's battle tested, man. And he's just a kid. He's only, 25, 26 years old. So you're going to see these leaps every time he fights. And I'm kind of biased here, man. I pick against Julian Erosa every single fight. And not only do I pick against him every fight, I pick him to lose by knockout every single fight. And it's got a pretty damn decent hit rate. So I can't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So I'm going Jourdain to knock this guy out, man. Look, I know that Erosa is the taller man. I know that he's the more experienced man as well. And sometimes those vet tactics can come into play, but he's coming off yet another brutal knockout, and it wasn't that long ago. He's taking this on short notice. I think he's getting stopped here. So give me Jourdain. And since I'm picking him via knockout, I'm going to definitely have him on a good bit of my lineup. So, yeah, I like Air Jourdain here.
I agree. I think the chin is just the biggest issue for Erosa. He's been knocked out 6 times that we know of. I mean, how many times he's been knocked out in the gym too? We have no idea. But I just don't want to ever pick this guy against somebody who is a better striker with knockout power, because I don't trust Erosa's wrestling enough to get it to the ground, where his edge is going to be in this fight. I do think if he can have success with his wrestling, he's live for a submission here. And in any win from Erosa, I think he's going to score well, because he does put up volume on the feet. He's a decent striker. It's just that Jourdain's a better striker, and he's got power. Erosa's got a bad chin. I think that knockout's coming as well. It could be 60 seconds. Those guys with bad chins, you want to target that early knockout potential. So I do like Jourdain on DraftKings, but Erosa is a guy I do want some hedge lineups with, because it wouldn't shock me if he went out there and submitted him in the first round and just broke the slate right out of the gates. So I want just a small amount of exposure to Erosa, but give me Jourdain to get a first or second round knockout.
So next up, I believe bantamweight division, we got Jack Shore taking on Ludovic Sholinian. And currently they got Jack Shore minus 500 and Ludovic is plus 400. And on DraftKings, they got it Jack Shore 9,100 with Ludovic at 7,100. So, on paper, some people are asking, why is Jack Shore minus 500? I mean, I think the reason why is because he's levels above this guy, just to put it simply. Ludovic, basically, to put some context into it, You know, he's going to split decisions with guys like Vince Cachero. If you've watched Vince Cachero on the UFC, you know, no disrespect to him, he's a tough guy. It's just, you know, he's probably not quite on that level. And I have similar opinions about Ludovic. Maybe he proves me wrong here. I mean, I don't really feel like laying minus 500, right? So, you know, maybe some people want to take the shot. I'm just not one of those people here. I think that Jack Shore is going to take this guy down, take his back, and choke him out in the first round. So my pick is Jack Shore to win this fight inside the distance via submission.
Yeah, we got Ludovic. He was like one of the last picks on this last season of Tough, and he looked good in his first fight. He beat, I think, the first pick overall, and then he lost on his way to the finals. And it's just that's such a lower level competition than Jack Shore is. I just don't know how he can beat Jack Shore here. I think everything that he's good at, Jack Shore's better at. And if he comes out hot early, I just don't see how he can hang on late. I just think Jack Shore would just drown him into deep, or take him into deep waters and drown him. But I could also see that first round submission as well, just because I think he's levels ahead of this guy. So, yeah, I don't know if I want to take a shot at minus 500 either. I think the line is right, but the way I want to get my exposure to Jack Shore is on DraftKings. He's DraftKings gold. This guy loves takedowns, and I think he'll have a lot of success keeping top control, you know, landing some ground and pound, and ultimately getting a submission in this fight. So Jack Shore's my favorite play on the card by far, and I might just lock him in, to be honest. I love me some Jack Shore on this card, and there's really nobody else that I feel that way about. So I'm not even against a full 150 lineups with Jack Shore.
So next up, flyweight division, we got Ji-Yeon Kim. She's minus 115, taking on Molly McCann, who's minus 105. And currently on DraftKings, they got it 8,200 for Kim and 8,000 for McCann. So this is an interesting fight, man, for a variety of reasons. Had this been maybe a year ago, I'd actually be kind of confident in taking McCann at a price like this. I thought that around the time that she beat Lipsky and Belbita, I kind of felt like she was on the way up and maybe even had a chance to crack, you know, the end part of the top 15. But that Tyler Santos fight, I think it took a lot out of her, because the subsequent fight against Procopio, that was a big letdown, man. I know a lot of people picked Procopio there, and you guys were very sharp in doing so. But even in picking Procopio there, I didn't see that same spirit, that same intensity that I normally see from Molly. So now I'm starting to question. And then you saw it seemed like she retired after that fight, and then she came back. So I'm not sure where Molly's head's at, man. But on the flip side with Kim, I'm always hesitant to back people making that trip from whether it's Korea or China to the United States. That trip takes so much out of you that I'm not sure we're going to be seeing the best version of Ji-Yeon Kim Saturday night. So that worries me. Now, she does have a 10-inch reach advantage, but if we're going to mention the 10-inch reach advantage, we better also mention that Ji-Yeon Kim gets hit more than she lands. So she's not exactly the best at using that reach advantage. So this was one I've been kind of stumped on, and I've been going back and forth on. I'm going to slightly lean Kim to edge a split decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was dead wrong on this one. And Molly McCann, because, you know, before Molly went on that skid, man, I was kind of comparing her to, you know, a little bit of a female Frankie Edgar. She's got the fast hands. She can mix in the takedown. She's aggressive. She's got heart. I just didn't really see what I was looking for these last two fights. I'm curious if she can pick it back up. Now, I know someone will probably be like, you mentioned the flight, you know, from Korea. Well, what about the flight from the UK? My only counter to that is I haven't really seen a difference in performance from Molly. Like, I mean, I know those last two fights weren't her best, but I saw her perform against Lipsky in South Carolina. I was at that fight, and she looked great. So I don't really have proof that the flight affects her. Whereas Kim, we've seen some of these fights that, like, you think she's going to dominate these people, and she doesn't. And to take it a step further, Nadia Kassem and Antonina Shevchenko, who are not known for their ground games, successfully landed takedowns on Kim. And Kyle, am I talking myself out of Kim here? Am I talking myself to playing Molly here? Because it's like, in theory, like, if Molly showed me what she showed me before those last two fights, I got Molly here. It's just that last fight kind of looked to me like someone who might have one foot out, and that definitely concerns me, Kyle.
Yeah, I actually didn't even see the retirement after her last fight, but yeah, that's definitely a worry. And like you said, if this was a year ago, I'd be betting Molly here. I just think that she has a big advantage on the ground if she can get takedowns here, which I think she can. I feel like she can hold takedowns, land ground and pound long enough to win 2 rounds. It's just, is her head in the game? I'm not sure, because I am going to take Kim as a better striker of the two. I think she's got good volume. She's got more power on the feet as well. She's got that 10-inch reach advantage, even though she really doesn't use it. But if this fight's going to take place on the feet, I'd rather take Kim. And we don't know with Molly. But on DraftKings, I don't think Kim can score very well unless she gets a knockout here. So I would rather just take the Molly McCann side. I don't want to bet her. But on DraftKings, I think if she wins, it's going to be through grappling, and she can score over 10x that 8K salary. So I am going to take McCann, just hope that she can be aggressive in this fight, land takedowns, because I think she could land 5+ takedowns here and have maybe 10 minutes of control time. And I think she maybe even has 100+ potential in this fight, because she's shown that in her past fights. And if she is going to win this fight in the most optimal way, it's got to be through the ground. So that's what I'll be hoping for. I don't really have much interest in Kim, but I will have some shots on Molly McCann, and I like her in all formats.
Next up, lightweight division, we got another Scouser. We got the debut of Paddy Pimblett. He's -150. He's taking on Luigi Vendramini, who's +135. And on DraftKings, they got it Pimblett 8,300, Vendramini 7,900. So, I got a little bit of a bone to pick, man. I've heard a lot of people saying that Paddy Pimblett is overhyped, that, he's overrated, this and that. So when I think of someone as overhyped and overrated, that means that there's a lot of people talking about this kid being a future top 15 guy. That means that there's a lot of people talking about this kid being a future champion. I haven't heard a damn single soul talk about Paddy Pimblett being a future top 15 guy or a future champ. I've literally only heard about him being overhyped and overrated. So that kind of makes me question, is he underrated here? And I'm not talking about no top 15. I'm not talking about no champion. I'm talking about Luigi Vendramini. I think Paddy's got the goods to beat this guy. And another thing, look, it is that UFC debut, so sometimes people underperform in that spot. We'll see if that's the case with him or not. What I have seen from him is he's a pretty strong, aggressive grappler, comes forward the entire time. He's got a lot of heart. And with Vendramini, speaking of grapplers, he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He actually took the back of Zaleski dos Santos. And in addition to taking the back and almost locking in a choke, he survived a Peruvian necktie attempt in the first round, which was very impressive. And then, what was the next fight? He destroyed, what was the name of the kid he destroyed again? Do you remember? He destroyed someone badly. The kid with no chin that fought Till.
Ayari,
yeah. Okay, so he destroys Ayari, who had been damaged badly by Till prior, and then after that he fought Fareziam, and I felt like the first 2 rounds, Fareziam kind of put a striking clinic on him, but when it was time to turn up in that 3rd round, Luigi did turn up, and he was able to get that full mount. He was able to even get a 10-8 round on one of the judges' scorecards. So kind of what that tells me is that standing, Luigi might not have the best technique, but if he commits and if he actually decides to say F it and let's go, that's where he can have success. I do kind of see Pimblett being the stronger guy here. The only question I have, because Pimblett does have a lot of his wins by submission, submitting a black belt isn't exactly the easiest thing to do. So I'm not exactly sure he's going to come out here and get that first round sub, but I could maybe see that ground and pound TKO or that decision win for Pimblett. So give me Pimblett. I'm going to say 29-28 decision win.
Yeah, I like both sides of this fight for DraftKings because I don't have a strong read either way. I do think Pimblett's grappling looks really solid, but I don't know that he can get the fight to the ground because I think Vendramini's probably the better wrestler, and he's a good grappler as well. And I think Luigi is the better striker, much more powerful on the street, on the feet. I think Pimblett's kicks were really all that I was impressed with. I mean, not even impressed, but I thought that was the best part of his striking game. It's just that if Pimblett can get this fight to the ground, I think he could finish Luigi quick. So that's the worry. And if that happens, he's going to score well. And Vendramini, I think he's live for a knockout in the first round. Maybe he can even get a submission of his own. But I worry about a decision here, especially if much of the fight plays out on the feet. I just don't think either one of them would score well. So I'm targeting finishes in this fight, and that's what I like on DraftKings. And since I don't have a strong read, I'll probably have both of them 30% range or something like that. But I'm going to take the Vendramini side just because he's the underdog. If I don't have a strong read, I'd rather take the underdog. So I'll take him by, I don't know. I think he can win anyway in this fight, but I would say a knockout or decision.
And real quick, before I talk about the next fight in the 205-pound division, just wanted to address some of the comments in the chat. Shout out to Palama Lou. I appreciate you. Shout out to Dan Goldstein. Shout out to my boy Clint, DFS Army, everybody here with us. Thank you guys very much for being here. So next up in the light heavyweight division, we got Modestas Bukauskas. He's minus 150. He's taking on Khalil Rountree, who's plus 125. And currently on DraftKings, they got Bukauskas 8,500, Rountree 7,700. So Kyle, it's interesting because it's like Khalil Rountree, he's talented, he's fast, he's athletic, great striking technique. It's just you kind of question the mental side of things with him. And again, coming from a non-fighter, when I say I question the mental side of things, I'm not saying that, look, I respect anybody that steps in that cage, but at the UFC level, I question the mental side of things, right? He's already a tough dude just for stepping in there. But at the UFC level, I've just seen him be out-willed. I've seen him fold. I've seen him break. And one thing about Bukauskas is he's known for that comeback win. But on the flip side, Kyle, Bukauskas fights with his chin straight up in the air. If this is, if Saturday night's the night when Khalil puts it together, because once in a while, Khalil will put it together. Once in a while, Khalil will go out there and get that brutal knockout. If Saturday night's that night, he's going to knock this guy out. It's just, I question, Khalil's willingness to be in there. I question what happens if he starts getting hit, if Bukauskas maybe even mixes in a takedown or two. So I do lean with Bukauskas. I'm not crazy about laying chalk on him here, for the reasons I mentioned. He's been knocked out more than once. That chin is sky high. But I think that he's got a little bit more in the tank, a little bit more in the heart, and I think that he wants it more. And barring a knockout, I think that Bukauskas wins this long-term battle. So give me Modestas to get his second UFC win.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, if this was the video game, the UFC video game, I'd rather use Rountree here because I would just chop down legs and work for that knockout. But it's not me controlling Rountree, and I just don't trust what Rountree shows up. So I would rather lean with the Bukauskas side as well. I am worried about the scoring from him. I think he's live for a knockout of his own. I think he has the edge on the ground. But I don't see this being a high-volume fight. And I do think that Rountree's probably more likely to get that early knockout. So I like him on DraftKings because he's cheaper, and he has that slate-breaking potential. So even though I'm going to pick Bukauskas, I think I'd rather have Rountree if I was just going to throw this into one lineup and use this fight. But agree with your breakdown.
Featured bout in the welterweight division, we got Alex Morono. He's minus 135. He's taking on David Zawada, who's plus 115. And currently they got Morono 8,700 and Zawada 7,500. So this is one that's interesting because it's like Morono probably should be favored. He's the more popular guy. He's beaten the better level of competition. I mean, he beat Max Griffin. He beat Cowboy. I mean, don't get me wrong. Zawada beat Abubakar. So they've both beat some pretty decent guys. It's just Morono's been in there with the more popular fighters. He deserves the distinction of the favorite. It's just Morono's not exactly the guy I like to back at chalk unless he's fighting like a Josh Berkman. Then I'll go ahead and lay the hammer. Because I see this being a competitive fight, Kyle. I see this being one of those fights that's 1-1 going to the third round, and who's going to dig deeper. And interestingly enough, both guys have kind of faltered in that kind of spot where the third round, they both kind of gas out a little bit. So this is going to be really, really interesting, man. I see Zawada kind of having the more takedown potential, maybe some body kicks, but Morono comes forward. He likes to brawl. He lands big shots. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so I don't see him getting submitted. So I see this being a split decision type fight. I'll edge Morono, but I think you could make an argument for the other side as well.
Yeah, I agree with the breakdown. And I picked a split decision as well, but I'd just rather side with the underdog, so I went with the Zawada. I just don't like this fight at all for DraftKings. I don't think either side will be high enough pace to score enough striking while it's on the feet, and I don't trust either one of them to land many takedowns. I think Zawada is probably the better grappler, probably stronger, but most of his submissions are from his back, so I don't trust that he can go out there and wrestle. I don't know that he has the striking to knock out Morono. So if we're looking at a split decision here, I don't think either one of them scores well. And this is one of my least favorite fights to target for that reason. But I'm going to take Zawada as my pick just because I can never get Morono right. I don't know if I've ever picked a Morono fight right. If I pick this guy, he goes out there and loses. And if I pick against him, he goes out there and wins. So since I'm picking Zawada, maybe that means that Morono is a good bet here. I don't know. Give me the underdog, though.
Co-main event of the evening, we got Tom Aspinall. He's minus 250. He's taking on Sergey Spivak, who's plus 200. DraftKings, you got Aspinall 9,000. You got Spivak 7,200. So I see a lot of people taking the shot on Spivak here. Listen, I think Spivak's a stud. I think that, he got thrown to the wolves from the jump, and he's come back dominantly, man. The current streak he's on, I see big improvements, and I like what I've seen from him, man. I'm a fan of Spivak. I like the fact that, after the Walt Harris and the Tybura fight, to come back and go on that streak, it's admirable. So I got a lot of respect. It's just Aspinall, I kind of view differently. Aspinall, I will sit here and say I think he's a future top 10 guy. I think he's got the goods, man. His hands are fast. He's got that black belt in jiu-jitsu. He can mix in takedowns. I think he's the full package. Athletic freak, 6'5", young. They're both young, but I just see this guy being a better athlete, but also having better technique. So I'm going to go on the opposite of everybody. I'm going to take Aspinall here to finish Sergey Spivak.
Yeah, I agree again. I think this is an important fight to target, though, on DraftKings because it's a minus 300 fight, doesn't go to a decision. So I think either way, we have high ceiling on both sides. But Aspinall looks like the real deal. I like his boxing. He's got a good pace. He's got good power. And apparently he's got a good ground game as well. So I think this is a good test to see how good he can be. But I'm going to pick him to pass it, and I think he gets that knockout as well. So I definitely like some Aspinall. My issue is that he's right there next to Jack Shore on DraftKings, and I already mentioned I'm cool with 150 Jack Shore lineups, so I just don't know. I haven't really built any lineups yet, so I don't know if I'll even be able to afford much Aspinall on this card. But ideally, I will be able to. I would like to be overweight to the field on him, and I'm cool with being overweight to the field on Spivak as well, because I think if Spivak does win this fight, it's probably through grappling, and whether that's locking up multiple takedowns in the fight or getting a submission at some point. Either way, I think he's going to score well. And the way this fight doesn't score well is if it goes to a decision, because I think it would take place just too much on the feet, not enough striking going on where Aspinall can pay off his price tag in a striking decision. But since we do have that minus 300 fight doesn't go to a decision, I'm going to side with Vegas on that. And this will be a fight that I want in the majority of my lineups. And I'm going to take Aspinall by knockout.
Main event, we got Darren Till. He's minus 180. He's taking on Brunson, who's plus 155. And on DraftKings, we got Darren Till 8,800 and Derek Brunson 7,400. So interesting fight. I'm not ready to write off Till. I think that he's still kind of a mystery, man. I think there's still a lot of questions. And sometimes you don't know what kind of performance you're going to get from him. Sometimes you see him unmotivated. Sometimes you see him have a spirited battle with Robert Whittaker. Sometimes you see him go out there and drop Robert Whittaker. Sometimes you see him win the decision against Stephen Wonderboy. So I'm not ready to count him out yet. But at the same time, with the way that the odds are here, I would be targeting Brunson more on DraftKings because he's going to allow me to pay up for Jourdain, for Shore, for Aspinall. But I'm not confident in Brunson. He's almost 40 years old, man. And at some point, someone's going to expose that chin thing again. Listen, Elias Theodoro and Ian Heinisch can't expose that. We get it. Edmund Shabazian's a kid. I'm not trying to discredit his wins at all. I'm not. I'm just saying that I think Darren Till is a different animal than, Elias Theodoro and Ian Heinisch and even Edmund. So I think this is a tougher fight. And I think that Till is hard to take down, man. The issue with Till is the volume ain't exactly the best. So I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. My lean is Till because, again, I'm not ready to sit here and say Brunson 2.0 or say that Brunson's back or say that Brunson's about to make a title run. I'm not. I'm just not. I think that he's had really favorable matchups. And on the flip side, I think that Till's been in there with the Sharks, man. Like I said, you saw him in there with Robert Whittaker's last fight of the night. Absolute war, won 2 rounds against Whittaker, dropped him. Like, that's that's no easy feat. So I'm gonna go with Till here as a pick, but on DraftKings, I will have some Brunson, man. Because again, that'll let me pay up for some of the favorites I like. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna side with Brunson on this one. Till is the better striker of the two, more durable on the feet as well, but it's just such low volume. My issue with Till is he's coming off a 5-round striking match where he landed 41 significant strikes. He had another 5-rounder with Wonder Boy. He landed 38. Like, these numbers just aren't going to cut it, especially when you're like 8,700 or something like that on DraftKings. So it's knockout or bust for Till to win anybody 100K this weekend. I would rather just put my money on that not happening. I don't know that he can knock out Brunson. We have seen Brunson knocked out a few times, but Till, even though he's a great striker, he's got some great sniping on the feet. He's not a knockout artist. And now at 185, I especially don't know if he's going to be knocking these guys out. And Brunson's biggest edge in this fight is going to be his wrestling. I think if he can lock up takedowns, then he's going to keep top control for a while. We even saw Woodley take Till down early and just finish him quick. I don't even think he landed a single strike in that fight. That's definitely a worry when we got Woodley losing to YouTubers and Disney Channel guys. So I'm going to go with Brunson here just because of that wrestling advantage and that low volume from Till. I think even though Till's a better striker on the feet, if he doesn't land that knockout, I can't even be confident that he's going to win a striking decision because of how low volume that is. But if either one of these guys is going to dominate the fight, it's going to be the underdog, and that's through wrestling. So give me Brunson. I think he's the only one who has a ceiling in a 25-minute fight here. And I don't know that I can just full fade Till because he is a good striker. He does have power. Wouldn't shock me to see him get a knockout. It's just that the ownership is going to be more than I would like. So I'd much rather full fade Till than get even 1% leverage over the field on him. So my game plan is going to be heavy on Brunson, low on Till. Give me the decision, though.
So Killshot time. Firstly, thank you, everybody, for being here and bearing with me. This was actually super tough. Not trying to throw a pity party, but, man, it took a lot. My Killshot is Charles Jourdain to knock out Julian Erosa. And, Marley, I'm going to leave you on this note. Great job, my man, and we'll speak soon, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks for toughing it out. You did a good job. I'm going to go with Killshot as Luigi Vendramini. I think he can get a knockout early on Pimblett, and I don't know that he'll be super high owned. So that's going to be my kill shot this week. Our boy Vince will have to give us one in Slack chat, but thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Good luck this weekend. Once again, use promo code SLEEVELESS. That'll save you 10% every month. Football, we got the optimizer for all sports. My notes will be in there for MMA this week. I also do NFL tiers. You see us, DFS Army, crushing the leaderboards every week. So sign up. Give us a chance. I think you'll like it. But good luck. Hope you win something this weekend.